Hi, I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and today we're going to make a Valentine's gatefold card. And as you can see on the screen here that I've pre-created one, but we're going to do this together and just do what we want to do with it and just make it so that you can do it on your own and design your own. I used three shapes here: rectangle with rounded corners, a score line, and a heart. Those are the only three shapes that we used. Okay, I am just going to close this for now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new project. So remember, we're making a Valentine's gatefold card here. So let's start with our shapes. Let's go for our rounded rectangle. And I'm just going to change the color and I'll just make it a purple for now. I am going to unlock it. And we're going to make this 10 inches wide and 5 inches high. So I'm just putting it in here for now. That looks really good. I am going to lock it into place. This is going to be the back of our card. So I need to put some score lines in here. And since it's a gatefold, we're going to need 3 different score lines. Let's come over here to shapes. Let's pick our score line. Now we know that the height is 5 inches because that is the height of the card. That looks pretty good. Now we know we want to center it somewhere here, so I'm just going to grab it together. I'm going to come up here to a line. I'm going to center it horizontally, align it, and center it vertically. That looks really good. So I'm just going to group it so it doesn't move because we've got a couple more lines that we want to make. Now, there's a score line here that is the right size. So I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to duplicate it twice because we're going to need one over here and one over on the other side. So let me just move this out of the way. Let's just get these where I can see them and use them a little later. All right, first thing I want to do is take this card. I'm going to position it at the 1 inch mark for the X and the 1 inch mark for the Y. This enables me to take what's left over here and divide it by 2 quite easily. Now we know that this is 10 inches wide, so 1/2 of it is 5 inches. So I actually need it to come in 2.5 inches. So knowing we need 2.5 inches plus the 1 inch over here, I know I can move this one to the 3.5 inch mark. Let me just click in the X position and type in 3.5, and it is still only 1 down. Perfect. I'm going to take this other one, and we know that this is going to be another 2.5 inches. So we're already at the 6, so 7, 8.5 is exactly where we want it. So let's just move this to 8.5 and 1 inch. There we go. So everything is in position here. I'm going to highlight them together, and I am going to attach them this time because now we have the card that we're going to be working with, and that's just one item. We don't need to look at all the parts anymore. Now, since this is a gatefold card, I'm going to pretend this is the back. I'm going to need something on one side of the gate and something on the other side of the gate. So first thing I want to do is I want to bring in an object that's going to fit on both of these that we can put into place. So let's go back to our shapes. I'm going to still pick on that rounded rectangle. And I'm going to make this one a dark pink if we can. I'll just make it a red for now so that we can see it. I'm going to unlock it. Now, we know the height was 5 inches for the card. So I'm going to make this 4.5. So we've got some room to work. And we know this is 2.5 inches wide. And we can make our... we can make it 2.5. I'm going to make it 2.25. I'm going to lock that into position. And I'm just going to place it here just to see if it'll fit nicely when we put the gatefold. That looks really good. Now, it's not as rounded at the bottom as you probably want, but it will work for what we need. So we need one here and we need one on the other side. So let's just duplicate it. and we can start playing around with these. So we know we're going to have one here and one there, and then we're going to put some designs on it. All right, let's start by creating something that's going to have some text inside. So I'm going over to my shapes. I am going to pick on a heart. And of course, we want a nice red heart. Now I want this heart to be something that you open up on either side. So I need a duplicate of it. Now, the biggest thing is I want to join these together, but I want to make sure they're in the right place. So let me just take this and slide it out of the way. My favorite thing is to move it from here, position it at X1 and Y1. Looks good. So we know at the 3-inch mark and the 1-inch mark is where I want this one. So X is going to be at 3 and the Y is going to be at 1. Now that's going to be really close together. They will take a little bit over. So what I want to do is I want to overlap this, but just slightly. So I am going to change this from 3 to 2.875. And that just overlaps it a little bit, enables us to then put a fold into place. Okay. And our fold will come in just about the middle here. So if I come across here, I want to weld these together. We're going to be making 2 of these, but I also need a score line. Let's grab the score line here. And I don't know what the depth is here, but I'm just going to push it up so I can kind of eyeball what it's going to be. Doesn't matter if the score line goes over a little bit. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to take these 2 together and I am going to align them, but I want it to align side to side. And let's see if we can center those there. That's perfect. That's right in the middle. I'm going to take these 2 together. I'm just going to group them for now because we're going to add some text. And of course we need 2 of these. So let me just duplicate it. There we go. I have a duplicate. One's going to go on one side, one's going to go on the other, but I want to add some text here. So I'm going to have love me, love you are the 2 pieces of text that we're going to put in here. So let's go grab some text. And I'm going to do the words separately. So I'm going to do love all by itself, and we're going to pick a better font than that. Let's see if we can find a curvy type font. Let me come over here to filters and let's just do a writing font and see if we can find something a little curvy that will work. A lot of these you'll see have an A with them. That's Access members have the option of what they can have here. We have writing ones, we have little ones. And this one's got a price point on it, signature. So it's not necessarily something I'm going to do. I'm going to look and see what we've got on the free side. It doesn't look like we have too many free ones, but you could possibly, click on your system fonts and see what nothing came up. Okay, so we want to go with Cricut. Let's just pick on something pretty simple. So I'm going to go Elisa stencil script. Now that looks really nice. Now I'm going to need a couple of these, but I've got to fit them in. So let me just come over here, fit the love in. I want to get it exactly where I want it. Now, this is going to be in writing, obviously. So once I click on it here, let me click over here, pick it. Now it's got the pen. And I'm just going to pick like a tawny color. It's actually going to use a gold pen. Let's pick on Adobe and see what we get. So you can see the word love here, but it'll be in gold when I do use it. Now I'm going to duplicate this one because we need another one down here. Now we need the word me and the word you. So let's click on text. I'm just going to put me. Just going to shrink it down so it fits. I'm just eyeballing it at this point in time. And of course, I got to click over in the layers panel to change the color. We want it Adobe is what I picked. Love me. All right, so that one looks pretty good. I'm going to attach it together. I need the word you. So let's just go back to our text here. I'm just going to duplicate it. Then I don't have to pick colors or anything. I'm just going to double click on it. I'm going to change the word love to you. And it changed it. And it's interesting. It never used to do that. All right, let's go pick our color again. And we want Adobe. Where did our Adobe go? There it is. Adobe. And then I'm going to place it here, but I need to make it a little bit smaller. That looks really good. Let's highlight that together and let's attach it. So now we've got two pieces that are going to come on top here, and these will open and close, as you'll see later. Now, one last thing I want to do here is I'm going to grab these two pieces here. What we want to do here is we want to punch out some hearts so that the color of the card behind is going to show through. It's like little pieces of confetti. So for shapes, because I'm just going to use hearts, I could use stars, I could use hexagons, I could use something else. But since this is Valentine's Day, I'm just going to take these and I'm just going to leave them black for now. Because what I want to do is duplicate these and just make a little pattern here and there. And it doesn't have to be equal, but I am going to make a pattern. But I have to make sure everything is going to fit. So I take this, I just want to take one of these and make sure that I'm not overdoing it. So that looks pretty good. I probably want to move this guy in just a little bit. I love you is going to fit. Okay, so I'm going to grab these hearts. I'm holding down the shift key as I'm clicking. One more here and one more there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those look good. I am going to weld them together. And I'm not going to put it on here because we're going to duplicate this one. Actually, I want to do something a little different with this. So I am going to duplicate it because I want it to be not exactly the same. I'm going to flip this one. I'll flip it horizontal so they're kind of mirror image of each other. That looks really good. We know it's the right size. So I'm going to highlight the two of these. I am going to slice it because I don't want this one. I can delete it. And I want this piece. So I can delete these hearts. And I don't need the black ones. Oh. Let's go back here. I forgot to slice it. That didn't help. Okay, slice. All right, now we can get rid of the black ones. And I have the two pieces I want, and I can delete this. Now, this is a really interesting aspect of what we have here, because what's going to happen is one of these is going to fit on this side. This will glue on later, and then I think I'll put the Love Me on this one. Let me bring it to the front, arrange, send to front. Lovely. Okay, and then this one will go on the back side. And the Love You, I'm going to bring that to the front. Perfect. So now I have this beautiful little set of card on 3 different kinds of paper, which is really going to be really nice when we put it together. So we're going to move over to the demo table in just a second, but let's just save this. And this is a Valentine's gatefold. And it is part of my January makes. Let's see if I can find my January. It is. I'm going to save it so I don't lose anything. One thing Design Space does for you now, if you don't save something, it'll save it for you for a little while. Now, let's go over to Make It. And I'm going to be just on matte today. I'm not going to use any smart materials. I want this to be available for anyone. You can use actually your Cricut Joy. You would just have to shrink it down a bit and you could draw in your score line instead of having a score line in there. So we have these 2 parts. That's great. We have our two heart pieces. That's great. I'm just going to put them below each other here. And of course, we have our card back. And I have three different colors of paper, and I don't have any scraps that I can use with this right now. So this is exactly what I want to use. So I'm just going to click on continue. I'm going to select my device. And I have already set as my favorite medium cardstock. So that's going to be really easy. All I need is my fine point blade. But as you can see, I've got three different kinds of paper here. I have my machine all set up, which I'll bring forward just a little bit. So for the back of the card, I am going to use this salmon color. For the hearts that are going to cut out, I'm going to use the red. And then the pink is going to be for the little inserts that go on top. So when I take a look at my design space, and you can go back and look at yours, the first thing that is cutting out for me is the two pieces that go ahead and they go on top. I'm just trying to move stuff out of the way here. It is the two pieces that go on top of the card. So that is going to be this color. So I'm just going to use a medium mat over to the side. Now what I generally do is I just place it in the corner the best I can. Now the paper that I'm using is American Crafts cardstock. It's called AC cardstock. It is something that is called a solid core cardstock. Now Cricut has the same thing, just happen to be using the AC one. And the solid core is really important because if it bends and folds, then you're not going to have an issue. Okay, so let's get this first one in. Let me just load my mat. And it's just simply going to cut. Now I'm going to use the scoring wheel for the next two parts of the cut, but this first one is going to be easy. We'll just take this. It should start right away. Yes, it does. Now I have the Maker 3 that I'm using, but you can use any of the other machines in order to do this project. What it's doing right now is cutting out the little hearts that I had at the top. I think I had 3 at the top and 2 at the bottom, and then the outside piece. Great. We can unload our mat from the first one. Now I'm going to use the same mat. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to turn things over and roll my mat off and get rid of my excess here. Now I've got the 2 cut out pieces that we're going to be using. I'll put them to the side, but you'll notice I've got some beautiful little extra hearts here. And I always save my cutouts because we can make lovely embellishments on the inside with the extra pieces that are cut out. Now I'm just using my fingernails here to get these off. Not holding on too heavily. And you could use a tool to get them off. My mat is not as sticky as it could be. All right, so the next part of my cut is also going to be on medium cardstock. And what you're going to find is that Cricut wants you to have a choice of papers each and every time that you load something in. And right now I'm just putting my scoring wheel into place. It's the hearts. And what I've decided to use is a medium point, and it's a 1.0. Gold is where I'm going to write. So all I do is I put the top here and I slide it in gently with the arrow to the front until I hear it click, and then close it at that point. And we are doing the heart, so I'm going to need the red piece of paper. Now this is a different paper that I used on this one. It's a little thicker. It is not American Crafts. It's made by Darice or Darice. Once again, I want to use my brayer tool. I do not want my paper sliding around or miscut, so I always use that brayer tool. So we are ready to go on this second one. So I'm just going to load my mat. tricks when you're using a pen is down in the corner here. I did a little test with the pen to make sure it was flowing and also that the color will show through. And I like the gold with the red. It just looks so good because you can draw other designs on top of your card if that's what you want to do. Now I can see that it's getting all of the writing in here. It doesn't take too long, and then I'll have to switch out my scoring wheel for my fine point blade. Okay, let's unload this mat. And I'm just going to let this dry for a second. I can see little wet pieces of it. I'm just going to remove my pen so that I don't make a mess. Let's move it off to the side here. And it's starting to dry up. I just don't want to smudge it. I will take the outside piece off. And usually I roll the mat, but this time I'm being extra careful. There we go. Got those two pieces off. And I'm just going to peel these gently, and they'll have time to dry while we cut our next piece out. So let me just take those off of here and move them over here. Now we have one last piece that we're going to be doing. And of course, this is the outside of the card. I'm going to try and get that as straight as possible. And don't forget to always use your brayer tool to push your cardstock down. You will run into a lot less problems. I know for beginners, sometimes, you know, what can you use? Oh, you can use a rolling pin. You can use anything you want. You can buy right on the Cricut site. You can get these brayers. They're inexpensive, but well worth the investment. All right, I have to choose my paper once again. And in this case, it is cardstock and it wants my scoring wheel. Let's put my blade down here, add my scoring wheel. Get that as straight as possible. Now this has 3 score lines in this part of it, and then we're going to put everything together. And by then our words are going to be dry enough that we can do some gluing. So let's just take a second or two. Looks good. And I can put my fine tip blade. And this is our last little cut, and then we're going to put everything together. By the way, if you put the wrong tool in, the machine will not work. It will tell you to put the right one in. So it's just a sort of an interesting process, because I've wondered why sometimes it hasn't cut. Is because I had the wrong tool in place. Okay, so let's just eject this. And on your design space screen, of course, you're going to have to click on finish when it's done, just to make sure. And let's just pull this off the mat. I'm just going to shut this off, move it out of the way so we have some working room here, because we are going to put everything together. Once again, I am going to roll my mat off, and I will put the protective cover back on it to store it. And you'll notice I've got a few bits of debris, which means I have to wash and clean that one the next time I do a project. So let's just move our scraps out of the way here. So now we're ready to start putting all of this together. I have a few extra hearts here that I can use if I want. Now, what I'm going to be using today is an original tacky glue. That's Aleene's. And I did buy this at Michael's. I do store it on its side, and the reason I do that is so that the glue is closer to the tip. If I hold it up, then I don't get the same. Now, we're going to have a gatefold here. So the first thing we want to do is find that fold mark. I'm just going to get out my scraper tool. You can use a credit card, you can use anything else. And this is called burnishing. I'm just going to burnish it so it's a nice tight fold. And that looks really good. So the next thing is I have to take each of the gate folds and I'm going to find the crease mark, which is right here. Push that one in. And of course I have one here. Now I don't need the one in the center unless I want to have it there, but we could write in a message. Now I've got this cut so I can go this way with it, or I can go this way with it. So it's a different way of being able to display it. Right now I've got this across the top. So first thing we want to do is we want to add on our little pieces here, and I'm going to decide which way I want them to go. I'll do them this way. And these are going to come right on top. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to add my glue, and I'm going to add it to these pieces. Just turn it over. And I just want to dot it because this will dry clear. And it's not bad for paper. Now we do have a glue guide coming out. There we go, a little bit of glue. I'm going to leave that on the side. Now the tough part is turning it over and getting it straight the way you want it. I always hold my fingers in place so it looks like the top and bottom. And I've just got a little bit on the side here, which is perfect. A little bit of extra glue there, no problem. Now I want this one to come in that way, so I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to do a little bit of gluing today, so just make sure you've got enough glue that you can get all your pieces going. I generally don't glue in the middle unless you really want to. I want to keep my cap in place. Let's turn this over. Now, when I put this together, what I want to do is try and get the same kind of seam on the top bottom. So I'm going to bring this over. And we know we want a thinner seam here, and we're trying to match it as best as possible. Unless you drew lines in, get a little extra glue here, which is just fine. This does dry clear, so not to worry about. And you can always add more glue if you want to. So this is going to be a nice gatefold. It's going to come out this way. All right, next part is which side do you want on where? So this is a love me, and I'm going to add that one here. Let's just turn it upside down. This is such a simple card to make, and you're using only the shapes from Design Space, which is really amazing. Let's go through here. You don't need any extra outside anything in order to make some beautiful things with Design Space. Okay, I'm going to take this. Should have burnished it ahead of time just to make sure that it's going to stay shut. I could probably put a little extra here. Love me, love you. Okay. And I need this piece. No, I'm going to put let me just make a decision here. So we actually want these to open that way. Yeah, we want them both to open the same way. Okay. I'm going to put the love you on the bottom. You could change your mind and have it in a different way. The way I'm doing it is this. I'll be able to match this. Match top and bottom and get it as centered as possible. There we go. Now I've used some light colors here, so we could, you could add some more to this if you want. Let me just get these in here. Now we have these extra hearts that were cut out, and I'm going to use a couple of them because what I want to do is just add one maybe on the front here. Glue on the top. Add a little bit here. You can add some more color, of course. And if you really want to get creative, you could perforate some of these little hearts so that, go. Just I'll center it here in a sec. There we go. That looks really cute. Now, right now they're standing up, but that's okay because you can take this and we can just squish it down into place. And of course, you can add your own greeting on the inside, exactly what you want to say in here. So we could glue some of these hearts in place here. They're a little faded in color, but we could have other color hearts. You can cut some out. So that is all there is to this gorgeous little Valentine's gatefold card. And you have many different ways you can fold it. And of course, when I store it, I get it to stay into place. And this is just so cute. Love me, love you. I know you're going to absolutely love making this. It was so simple. So until next time, happy crafting.